Okay, this is our third part in our unfamiliar texts tutorials, and we're looking at non-fiction texts. Non-fiction texts, quite a bit different from fiction and poetry, and they're different in terms of the language that's used, the purpose, structure, everything pretty much. So first off, the purpose of a non-fiction text is to express an opinion or to inform, always aimed at a specific audience, and should be fairly easy to work out that audience by looking at the type of language that's used. Also important for non-fiction and both fiction and poetry, always have a look at the notes around the side and any footnotes. Okay, first they should give you a little sort of a glossary of any difficult words that are used, but they'll also give you some details about where the text was taken from, and that will give you some clues, especially for the non-fiction, at what the audience would be. You know, it might be a particular magazine or newspaper or so forth. Structure, we've got the introduction, we've got the body of the piece of non-fiction, and we've got the conclusion. And the conclusion, always really important to look at, because that's where the opinion is clearest. There's always some contrast used. And if you're at all a little bit confused about what the main idea of the non-fiction is, always go back down to the conclusion and reread that, and things should be a bit clearer. The main idea of a piece of non-fiction is always the development of the opinion that is being expressed. And, you know, there'd probably be some examples to back that up. Here's the types of language, what it's used for. Okay, we've often got short sentences, simple sentences for emphasis or to stress a point. We've got the figurative language that we've looked at already in fiction and poetry. We've got personification, we've got metaphor, we've got simile to develop an understanding of points. So it should be really clear that you need to have a really good and clear understanding of personification, metaphor, and simile. Often there are rhetorical questions for emphasis, you know, leading questions to help them express their opinion, to lead them into the argument. Repetition for emphasis. Okay, listing to give the sense of that there's a lot of reasons or evidence for whatever opinion that's being expressed. Verbs can give a sense of the character's movement. Adjectives help create the image of the setting and the characters, but there may not be characters. There may not be the setting that that sort of stuff might be redundant as far as non-fiction is concerned. However, you do need to know verbs. You do need to know adjectives. Okay, so there's a bit of a summary. You know, clearly personification, metaphor, simile is important to know, and also, you know, an understanding of some of these basic grammatical terms like verbs and adjectives. Each of the texts have sort of, you know, different things. We got rhetorical type questions in non-fiction. You know, you've got rhyme in poetry. You've got, you know, short sentences to build emphasis in non-fiction. You've got short sentences to build tension or give an idea of rising action in fiction. Now, a quick couple of words on how to read. Okay, this is different for the whole, you know, you've got a skim for non-fiction, skim the intro, and have a skim through the body and have a decent look at the conclusion. Poetry, read the whole thing. It's probably pretty short. Like I said, make sure you read the text around the text, the footnotes, any information about where the text is from. Now, how to answer. Unfamiliar text may be a standard that you leave until last, and so you may be running short of time. There are two types of questions, the A questions and the B questions. The A questions are for an achieved only. The short answer, you need to be precise, you need to be specific. Okay, so, if you're looking for verbs, don't write the whole sentence, just the verb, or write a fragment of the sentence and underline the language feature, whether it's a verb or an adjective. We've got the rule of 3 here. Find 3 examples and explain how they're similar. Link them. And for the B answers, you can gain your achieved here. You can gain a merit. You can gain an excellence. So the advice is especially if you're running a bit short of time, just answer the B answer for each question, because you can gain your achieved there, but you can also do a bit better. You can get your merit, you can get your excellence. Here's your structure for your B answer. You have a sentence that states what the purpose of the text is, or the main ideas. You've got your main section tracking the development of the main question. Try and name drop language features, because if you've got language features in there, you're going to hit the achieved. Right, that is if your language features are correct. Your third part is bullet points and language features if needed, and your fourth sentence is your connection to the wider world or human nature. Okay, and we'll look at some examples of this. And finally, allow 5 minutes for targeted reading and 15 minutes per answer. That gives you 20 minutes. And because you've got 3 parts, you've got 20 minutes. That's your out. And like I said, the best strategy is to read and complete all the B answers only. Just make sure you refer to at least 2 language features for each text, and don't just say they've used a simile, give the example. Okay, and that will ensure that you achieve.